I started my coffee channel back in 2016 and I had no intention of making this into a career. But even though I've been doing this full time now since May 2024, it's actually been really hard, and I almost quit multiple times on the way to where I am now. So I thought I'd tell you why it's surprisingly difficult to make a living as a so-called coffee influencer. Firstly, I really don't like talking about what I do as creating content. Content is a gross term that I don't like because it's just come to mean stuff that distracts you from real life. I've never wanted to do that, and I like to think that based on what I talk about in my videos, it's clear that I'm trying to teach and promote coffee knowledge and cool technology rather than just being an influencer. The hard thing has been making enough money to keep this going. Coffee's one of those weird niches where there's lots of money involved. I mean, coffee is one of the world's most traded commodities after all, but for specialty coffee, most of us are in it for the love of the product and the technology, and on YouTube, making money doing this is pretty tough. Going back to the start, my first video might have been the first time I ever used a DSLR camera. I borrowed it from my girlfriend at the time, and that's why my first video about the Barista Express is out of focus the whole time, because I didn't know how to adjust the focus properly. Oh god, it's so hard to watch now. But that video took off somehow, and I remember getting a message on Facebook from a friend in school who I hadn't spoken to in over a decade, saying that he found my video and found it really useful to get his first good espresso from his new Barista Express. So of course I started making more videos just talking about what I was learning about espresso and latte art as I went along. I wasn't a barista, I was just super passionate about this new hobby I found. So with all this coffee gear I have behind me and previous videos, you might think that I make a lot of money from the channel, but it might surprise you to know that I only started making money from this channel since October last year. Here's a quick look behind the curtain. This is what my YouTube revenue looked like for most of the lifetime of my channel. In the whole year of 2023, my channel made just £2,241 from YouTube ads, which is around $2,777 US. Just my camera and lens alone, which I bought in 2023, were more than the YouTube ad revenue for the entire year. There are some affiliate sales commissions on top of that, which in my experience is maybe a little less than YouTube ad revenue, but that's still nowhere near the full-time salary I was making working for a big YouTube channel in 2023. So the way YouTube ad revenue works is that you don't get paid based on subscribers, as a lot of people think when they meet me. They say, oh, let me subscribe to your channel, thinking that this would help me out, which is a really kind instinct that a lot of people have, but you actually get paid based on views multiplied by what YouTube calls the RPM, or revenue per mil, so how much you get for 1,000 views. So if you have 39,000 subscribers like I do around the time of writing this video, and your RPM is £5, and then your video gets 1,000 views, you get £5. If you have 100 million subscribers and your video gets 1,000 views, you get £5. In some niches, like for example cars or finance, the RPM is really high because the products that these kinds of advertisers have are really expensive and their margins are high, so they can afford to spend a lot of money on advertising, and they do. But espresso machines and coffee sales haven't really been greatly impacted by advertising on YouTube, so most companies don't bother doing it. Before the pandemic, they mostly sold espresso machines to cafes, and those are high information customers and a very small market. YouTube advertising isn't going to make them more or less likely to buy a £14,000 Rancilio RS1 3 group for their new cafe. So because my audience are into coffee and espresso gear, but there's little to no paid advertising in that space on YouTube, my RPMs are typically not all that high. As you know, if you're an espresso nut like me, this is not a cheap hobby. So after buying lots of coffee gear, as well as lighting, camera equipment, rigs, tripods, teleprompters, and setting up my filming space here, you can see why it'd be difficult to make a profit from YouTube ad revenue and affiliate sales alone. Even my best performing video of all time about my cafe made just over £2,000 so far in ad revenue on YouTube. If you consider that that business failure cost me 6 months of my life and thousands of pounds more than the video made, even this relative success didn't pay for itself in what was required to make it. If I'd known about all of this the first time I tried to go full-time on the channel, it might have gone better. When I quit my job first time to do this channel back in 2021, I had no idea how to make it work and quickly found myself running out of money for rent. I'd just gotten a massive bump in views and ad revenue after Christmas, with lots of people watching my videos and discovering my channel for the first time. And as every month my subscriber count and ads revenue was going up, I thought, wow, if this keeps up, I'll be able to replace the income from my part-time international school job completely. I still had a few consulting gigs, but not enough to survive in Tokyo, video, and I hoped that my YouTube revenue would keep growing as it had been for around 6 months. So I finished out the school year at the end of March in Japan and went mostly full-time into my channel just in time to catch the summer decline. This should have made sense to me before I did this, but I didn't think it through. People go out more in summer because the weather is nice, so YouTube views decline basically for everybody. So my YouTube ad revenue and affiliate sales dropped off a cliff, and by September I had to go out again and get another teaching job. So when I quit my job for the second time last May, I wanted things to be different. I want to own a coffee business, not just be a YouTuber completely dependent on views to survive. Lots of my friends have asked me why I don't just work with sponsors like so many other YouTubers. People see sponsored segments all the time in videos, and they know that YouTubers need to make a living too. For some coffee influencers, this is a good way to make a lot of money for advertising a product, and it allows them to support their creative work. For me though, and specifically talking about espresso machine reviews in long-form YouTube videos, if I'm doing a gear review, accepting money from the company is a conflict of interest. And even though some people do it, and I don't really have a problem with that, I always want to maintain my ability to say whatever I want about these machines in reviews, and I always stipulate in advance of receiving any free gear or loans that I can say whatever I want and they don't get to see the video before it goes live. If I'm approached to do paid reviews, I always tell the company that I won't call it a review, and that I'll package the video differently, like demonstrating its features or using it to explain a coffee concept with a clear disclosure that the video is paid for. I'm really grateful for the companies that support my channel financially because it's actually quite uncommon in the coffee industry. Trying to negotiate decent amounts of money for video work is actually pretty tough, and my early experiences with it are part of the reason why I ended up going the independent reviewer/educator route that I did. Thankfully, now companies are much more amenable to sending unreleased or newly released gear so I can share it with you and show you how it all works, but they still generally don't like to pay. And I wouldn't want to take their money for reviews anyway, and reviews are what they want from people like me. This kind of sucks because making videos is work, and I've had back and forths with other coffee creators who are struggling to keep their channels going. And sure, I can sell some of the gear to make some money back from the video, but a lot of this stuff is specialist equipment, and selling it for a decent amount is not easy in the UK, especially given our economy at the moment. I also might want to keep it for comparisons down the line, or maybe just to not be seen selling something that I said I liked in a video, even if I just don't have space for it anymore. I've sold a few bits and pieces recently because my studio is getting kind of cramped. So this is really why I changed my whole perspective on this YouTube thing. I had some ups and downs, but I learned a lot after coming back to the UK in 2022 and working with a big YouTube channel for a year starting in 2023. Now I'm going to say something that for me feels obvious, but might come across as a bit controversial, and that's that I think the single-minded focus from YouTubers on monetizing their channels with sponsorships and being paid to promote other people's products is a massive missed opportunity. One of the things I noticed at the other channel I was working on is that we had to spend a ton of our time negotiating with and rewriting ad copy for sponsors. They were the ones paying for everything, our writers and our video teams, so it was pretty important to keep them happy. And then if the video didn't perform well or get as many referrals as they wanted, it would end up with this kind of uncomfortable reality where we got paid in advance and the company lost out big by paying us. Sometimes we had to do something called a make good, which is when we told a sponsor that we would get 300,000 views or more in the first 30 days. And if we didn't reach that target, then we needed to do another video with the same sponsor, which was the worst thing that could happen. So we had a lot of stress about every video and they all needed to perform well so we didn't lose money. Personally, I always hated that feeling. I don't want to be stressed out making videos because I'm sure you'd be able to tell if I was so desperate for my videos to perform well because otherwise I would lose my livelihood. Now I could have just kept making my comfortable salary at that YouTube channel, but I just love espresso machines, latte art and coffee technology, and something about this whole process just gets me really excited. So I've learned over the years, having had many different jobs and a few different business ventures too, that I should trust that my instincts are leading me in the right direction. There you go, you got some life lessons here from Home Cafe by Charlie. Trust yourself. If I got bored of espresso or people weren't finding my videos interesting or useful, I would quit and do something else. Thankfully, I'm still an espresso guy. So when I quit my cushy YouTube consulting job, I already had the idea for my Brew Ledger book, so I didn't need to accept sponsors' money to keep the channel going. I'll talk more about the book at the end of the video. Luckily, with the passionate and informed audience I've been privileged enough to bring together here, coffee companies will send me new technology and gear to test and talk about, so it doesn't cost quite so much for me to make videos about it. I got advanced looks at machines like the Kobe Concepts Diva Grinder way back in 2021, the fellow Opus, Nuri Lever L-Type, and Meraki machines because of this channel. And while these videos still usually cost me time and money to make, I love the tech, so I'm excited to do it. So what are other coffee influencers doing? Well, a lot of them tend to focus on vertical short form, so a YouTube short, Instagram reel, or TikTok video. In short form, the conflict of interest that I have with reviews isn't a problem because they're not doing reviews. Usually they're just showing off in an aesthetically pleasing way what a new tool, machine, or grinder looks like or what it can do. If the creator got paid to show off the product, there's no issue with just putting the paid promotion badge on the video, and they don't even have to take time out of the video to mention it. Just show the beautiful product and get as many views as possible so the sponsor is happy. So why don't I just do that? Firstly, vertical shorts is just not my favorite format. I've made videos like this, and some of them I've really enjoyed making, but I've always preferred to do longer but more concise educational videos. When I was a teacher, I always enjoyed trying to break down difficult ideas into easily understood components, and I'd like to think that that's one of the things that's helped my channel to get some success. Maybe if you're a regular viewer, you can tell me in the comments why you watch my channel. It can be difficult for the types of videos I want to make to perform well in the algorithms, where views and watch time are the main components of a viral video. So if you do want to make money doing coffee videos, do shorts. It's much easier to get sponsorships and to get paid, and the videos take far less time and personal exposure in terms of reputation to make. That's the reason why most of your feed on Instagram and YouTube Shorts is just another video of someone making an espresso with a pretty new tool. So then, what about all the coffee people making long-form videos on YouTube? How do they all pay for it? Well, I'm lucky that I've been able to have some great chats with other coffee people you probably know, and sometimes we share ideas and thoughts about espresso, technology, and even give feedback on each other's videos. That's one of the things that I like about the coffee industry actually, is that for the most part, everyone is actually really friendly and supportive. Now, I don't know for all of them, but for many of the coffee influencers I've talked to doing mostly long-form videos here on YouTube, they're making their money elsewhere. Maybe they have their own coffee company, they consult or do events for coffee companies, or they own a business like a roastery or a cafe, and sometimes they work in other technical fields, and espresso is just a passion that matches their technical expertise with something drinkable. But only really the biggest names in coffee are making profit directly from their YouTube channels. Some channels like mine have started to figure out that making your own stuff is a really great way to keep going as a coffee creator and doing videos about stuff that we love, while also being able to offer something really cool to your audience. Obviously, a lot of channels do other things like selling online courses, doing merch, live events, or having a Patreon or Substack or anything else you can think of. Online courses are my least favorite of these. I took Seth Godin's Alt MBA and also Matt D'Avella's YouTuber course a long time ago, and that, along with following Film Booth on YouTube and Paddy Galloway on Twitter, helped me to understand YouTube well enough to get a job managing a channel with 2 million subscribers. But a high proportion of online courses are just a way to make money out of your audience and offer little to no value beyond what can be found for free on YouTube anyway. There's even a whole cottage industry of people selling you courses on how to sell online courses. Merch can be great, but low effort things can be pretty bad, especially if you don't understand where the stuff is coming from or have any kind of quality assurance. I made my own t-shirt design back in the day when I was playing around with ideas on how to keep the channel going, and I think I sold a grand total of about 5 of them. I didn't really promote it, and now I don't really want to. I tried Patreon too, and while I know a lot of big names in the space keep things going with their Patreon, I didn't really like it. Part of that is that I don't want to be locking content that I worked on behind a paywall, when I'd rather have as many people see it as possible. And when I had my Patreon, I probably only gave 3 or 4 extra videos to them in years of having a few subscribers contribute to my channel, so I shut it down. I do have a Substack now, it's free, and I don't ask for anyone to join paid or lock anything behind a paywall. It's just a place for me to get more nerdy about espresso for people who are interested. So the way that it's finally felt right for me is selling my book. The product design process is actually incredibly exciting for me, and I'm hoping to work on more products and some pretty great collaborations too in the coming year. The reason I'm happier selling this is because it's actually something that I made, and the people who buy it really love it because there's nothing really else like it. I'm not just selling a sponsor's product or a t-shirt I didn't make, but actually something I put a ton of thought into and took a big risk putting out in the world. Of course, I'll leave a link for you in the description and you can check out all the reviews of it and see how much people love it. Now, my dream product to build in the future is my own home espresso machine, but that's a topic for another video. Thank you so much for watching, you wonderfully overcaffeinated people, and I'll see you on the next one.